down that camera and strap in. It's time for a new episode of TogChat Live. Get ready for 60 minutes of wall-to-wall photography, including photo news, tips, and your photography questions in real time, with answers from your host, Olympus visionary Joe Edelman.
Hey, that's me. How's everybody doing? Thank you, gang, for joining me for another live episode of TogChat. I'm your host, Joe Edelman, and my mission is to help photographers like you to develop a solid understanding of the hows and whys behind great photographs. So, gang, as always, before we get going, please take a moment. Tell your friends that we are streaming live on YouTube right now. If we can grow the audience by just a few people a week, that's awesome. Twitter, Facebook, they're the fastest way to get the word out. You can hit that share button that's right underneath the video, or you can go ahead and you can use the link tog.chat/live. And I just pasted it into the chat window there for you guys. So please let your friends know that we're here and that we're talking photography. It's an open mic night tonight. Anything is on the table. We got a lot of people checking in here already. I've got Gatan from Montreal, Sven from Norway, Milan, Italy, Germany. My God, we got people here from everywhere. It's so awesome. Please do me a favor, check in, say hi, let me know where you're from. Even Lynn from New York is here, all right? So also, post your questions. You got me for a full 90 minutes tonight. You can see I'm in practice mode. I'm going on the road. WPPI is coming up. I'm going to be down in Florida for the Florida Camera Club Council. I'm going to be making a visit to Shutterfest this year. Lots and lots and lots of speaking engagements. So I'll bring you up to speed on those. But I want to do my best to try and answer all of your questions in the next 90 minutes, right? So I've been getting a lot of great feedback on the interviews. So I want to let you guys know that, number one, I appreciate that. And number two, that's the direction we're going to move into. So I have started pretty much reaching out to all of my photography buddies around the country and actually even around the world, lining up a schedule. I will tell you that for the next 2 weeks, so you guys, you got a lot of shooting to do. So next Wednesday and following Wednesday, there will be no TogChat. We are going to take a quick break from TogChat, mainly because, number one, I am going to be in Las Vegas next week for WPPI. And at the time that we are normally live here, I will be leading a street fashion photo walk next week in Las Vegas. And then the following week, true, I'm going to take a couple of days off, just a couple. I am going to be speaking at the end of that week at the Florida Camera Club Council in Fort Myers, but my wife is coming along with me. We're going to take a few days, go to Universal, have a little bit of fun, try and catch a Phillies preseason game in Clearwater on the way to Fort Myers. So I'm not going to do TogChat for 2 weeks, but we'll be back. And my guest 3 weeks from now is going to be the one and only Will Cadena. He's a Canon shooter. He is a Westcott ambassador and all-around awesome guy, educator, incredible photographer. And that's going to kick off what is going to be a long run of interviews. So I'm looking forward to that because I've been getting great feedback. Plus, hey, you know, I get to talk shop with people that I enjoy, right? So can't complain at all. So we've got some really good questions that are kind of flying in here already, and I want to make sure that I get as many of these as I can. A couple of you loaded some questions in for me before we started tonight, and I will definitely go back through those. But if you were here last week, you know that I'm using a completely different setup now to basically publish the TogChat and stream it out live to you. I do stream on an Olympus camera, which a lot of people find that surprising that you can actually use like an EM1 Mark II as a live streaming camera. But basically any camera with an HDMI out will allow you to do that. It's definitely helpful if you can run the camera on AC power so that it's not going to shut off every 29 minutes. So obviously I'm running the EM1 Mark II on AC power. We're using a piece of software on a Mac called eCamm Live, which is awesome. But what the eCamm Live also allows me to do, when people have questions, I can literally drag those questions right into the show for you guys to be able to watch. Whoops, and there it is. I've got so excited with that dragging, I got it in there twice. So let me get this one back up here for you guys to see. So Denko Imaging wants to know what is my opinion on submitting photos to competitions like WPPI? So I almost feel like this might be a setup question if you've heard me talk about competitions before, but I'll give you both sides of the coin. I think that entering competitions, and especially at events like WPPI, which are really high profile, right? I think that it is very good. It can be very rewarding, and it can also be really bad. That doesn't really help you. So let me explain. As long as you are entering competitions for the right reason, then go for it. I think it is outstanding. And what is the right reason, in my opinion? The right reason, in my opinion, is to take work that you have done that you are extremely proud of, and to have an opportunity to see it compared amongst your peers. Not on social media, not Facebook, not Instagram, none of that stuff, but literally amongst your peers and judged by a set of criteria. Now, that being said, here's the thing that I don't like about competitions. There are people that become very, very obsessed with competitions. And when I say people, I mean photographers. And that is for them kind of the way that they determine, hey, I'm either good or I'm not good. It's how many ribbons do they have hanging in their hallway on their, their matted and framed prints. The challenge with those kinds of competitions and that kind of approach to your photography is that what happens is you start shooting to win a prize, as opposed to shooting to be creative and make great pictures. Now, I give you this example from experience, not so much from the standpoint of print competitions like WPPI, but actually from early on in my career. Back in the day when I was a newspaper photographer, there were 3 specific organizations that I was involved in. One was the Keystone Press Association, which was basically Pennsylvania State Press Association, and that was for writers, editors, newspapers, photographers, everything. Then there was an organization called PPPA, which was Pennsylvania Professional Photographers Association. That was the local branch of NPPA, which was the National Press Photographers Association. So NPPA and PPPA had what is referred to as monthly clip contests. And basically what we did as photographers is, if you remember that organization, every month you would literally clip out with scissors your best clips, photos from that month, and you would put them in an envelope, stick them in the mail, and they would get judged as part of the clip competition. And you would not only win competitions, which also gave you points towards being photographer of the year, etc., but it was kind of bragging points amongst your photographers. And these images got published in newsletters that went out like every month and that type of thing. I know in my case, because I am a little bit competitive, what I frequently found myself doing, which was not good for my photography, I would get an assignment that might be to go shoot a soccer game at a junior high school, or it might be a matter of, go shoot a check presentation at a bank. And immediately, in my mind, not going to win a clip award for this assignment sucks. And indeed, I would take a really sucky picture because right out of the box, since it couldn't qualify for an award, I really was not giving it my best effort. So I've always had very mixed feelings about contests and awards. Obviously, I've won some along the way. Recently, I won the People's Choice Award for the Billboard and got it. So it's always great to do it. I just caution people, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure you keep the right perspective on it, because you will find the more serious that you get about a lot of these print competitions, people get really serious. And when I say really serious, I mean like cutthroat serious. And what happens is they often become creativity killers because there are so many rules in terms of how are you going to be judged, how are you going to be able to have an image get noticed, etc., that you're really not shooting to be creative. You're really not shooting and developing your style. You're shooting to kind of meet a set of criteria. And the challenge with that is, to me, that's a creativity killer. So I apologize for being a little bit wishy-washy, but those are the two kind of honest sides of the conversation for me. Dan asked on top of that question here, can photography competitions be more subjective? They can be. I mean, obviously, true story. I recently judged 2 different competitions for 2 different camera clubs. One here in the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania, and another one down in the Tidewater area of Maryland. And you know, I'm not going to lie. As a judge, I tend to be a little tougher on images that kind of fall in my genre, as opposed to when I'm looking at a landscape image, which I don't shoot that much in landscape, so I'm more likely to be impressed and have a little bit more of an open mind. Whereas when it's an image from my genre, well, then, you know, I've got the things that I very much like and the things that I very much dislike and the things that I would do and the things that I wouldn't do. And I'm human. So, you know, you try not to let that influence you too much as a judge, but the fact is it does. It simply does, right? So, yeah, Dan, I mean, photography competitions are definitely more subjective. And that's kind of the challenge, that while they are subjective, you still have quite a bit of make sure that you check off this box, this box, and this box, and this box, and then you stand better chances of actually being awarded a prize at the end of it. You know, going back to the person who asked the original question, my sincere advice would be is if you've never done it, and I believe it's not too late to actually, Denko Imaging, I believe it's not too late to actually get some of the images in for this year. I do know it's past the early submission deadline, so you pay a little bit of a penalty. I would encourage you, if you've got something that is eligible, do it, absolutely. It is a good experience. Just make sure you always keep it in the right perspective. That's kind of my approach, okay? All right, so let's see here. Lucas has a question. Let me just bring this up on the screen, and there it is. So Lucas wants to know, besides general studio equipment, what else is a good thing to own in a home setup aimed at advertising photography? So Lucas, when I hear a question like that, it sounds to me like you're still kind of just getting started, meaning that there's, you know, a good chance that you need a lot more practicing. You're still doing learning, et cetera. So, you know, here's the way I prioritize equipment in general, right? So it doesn't matter that it's studio or not studio, but in general. For me, the most important equipment that I own is a camera body and my lenses. And out of those 2, the lenses are actually the most important, right? It's the glass. The glass is the most important stuff from 2 aspects. 1, the quality of the glass. 2, the focal ranges of the glass. And we'll maybe add in a slight third, the speed of the glass. You know, is it a 1.2, is it 2.84? But I'm sorry, I don't get nearly as caught up in that as most people do. And if you follow me, you understand that, right? So for me, it's glass first, body second. But they're very, very close on the scale. After that, everything else in my studio or everything else in my camera bag, it is part of my toolkit, so to speak. It is things that are going to allow me to get the job done. Obviously, if you follow me on YouTube, you know that I am all about DIY. So if there's something that I can make, especially if I don't need it all the time, if it's not a piece of gear that I'm going to use like every time I walk into the studio or every time I pick up a camera, if I can DIY it, heck yeah, I'm going to DIY it. Why spend the money on it, right? And even from the standpoint of, well, do I need the best or can I go with something, you know, cheaper? Maybe that's made in China or Korea. It really depends on, will it make the job easier for me or will it help me improve my pictures, and or how often am I going to use it? So one of the things that I would encourage you to do, Lucas, and I'm going to switch the screen over here. We'll go to my YouTube channel. There is a video on my video on my YouTube channel. Let me hit that button one more time. There we go. Okay, I'm going to take the question off the screen here. If you go to my YouTube channel, click on that little magnifying glass that you see there up in the top right, and just type in home studio. Now remember, this is on the magnifying glass search, not the search bar that's all the way up at the top of the page, right? But if you click on that and do a quick search, you're going to find the video that I did, the DIY home photo studio. In that video, Lucas, you'll see a lot of kind of the little tricks and gadgets that I've used, especially things like the mounting bars that allow me to hang lights on the wall so that I have fewer light stands on the floor, that type of stuff. The reason why you're seeing light stands all over the place right now, whoops, that side, is because I'm practicing my setup that I'm going to do on stage in Las Vegas, where I will have to use light stands, so I'm not using the bars. I want to make sure that I'm basically setting up stuff like I'm going to go do it on stage, right? So So, honestly, it really depends on exactly what you're going to shoot. But generically, do I have a recommendation that says, hey, you should have this or that? No, it really depends on the specifics that you're going to do. And the thing for an advertising photographer, Lucas, depending on what kind of advertising you're doing, like, so for instance, when you say advertising photographer, that's kind of a very broad and general category, which means, you could be photographing fruit one day, and the next day you could be photographing a person in a costume, whatever, or a fashion model. So we're talking kind of very dramatic, ranges. And then the very next day, you might be photographing some type of metallic computer panel or something, okay? So frequently with studio photographers, they are, studio advertising photographers, excuse me, they are kind of the ultimate problem solvers in that each project can be so dramatically different. It's not the type of thing that you can plan ahead for everything. And keep in mind that as an advertising photographer, you're going to be charging a higher dollar amount. These aren't the kinds of jobs, advertising photographers aren't guys that basically pick up the camera, go take a couple snaps, and then the job's done, like deliver it. No. Advertising projects usually require days, weeks, or months of planning, and then, days and possibly even weeks of shooting, et cetera. So you're going to find that the needs will vary dramatically from shoot to shoot, and it's kind of really hard to essentially plan ahead and say, oh, this is going to give me everything that I need, right? So anyway, that would be my advice there. Okay, so let me scroll back down to the bottom here where we're at. Hey Joe, like a new hair color. Actually, it's not new hair color; it's a new light. But thank you. So there's a hair light up above me, and it's a little warm. That's it. So Denko Imaging. Can I tell you more about the photo walk at WPPI? I can. So actually, two things here. Let me just get a browser up on the screen real quick and see if I can find the WPPI website. And I will get you as much information as I can. So first, I want to show you guys how you can get all the information on my speaking engagements and that. So let me just switch the screen over. I'm going to take the question off the screen there. So if you go to my website, gang, which is, of course, www.joeedelman.com, let me just post that into the chat window here for you. So there's the link for that, right? Click on the Lectures and Workshops tab, and it will load eventually. There we go. It will load my ongoing speaking schedule. So for next Wednesday, if you were to click on the first thing, this is the presentation I'm doing twice on Wednesday for Olympus. The times are in there. Also the Street Fashion Photo Walk. So the easiest way to get to this is to go to this, the link on my website. And then when you are here, you can click the link for information about the photo walk. And that's going to take you to a page on WPPI. It's got my bio. It's got the information for the photo walk and everything that you need. In order to sign up for the photo walk, basically what you have to do is register for the educational portion of WPPI. So for those of you that have maybe never been to one of these events before, do understand that if you just want to come to the trade show and like see people like me speak, or obviously a lot of the speakers that will present for like Canon and Nikon and Sony and all that, you actually don't have to pay for that. So don't pay to get in. You can get free passes from a lot of the different manufacturers and exhibitors. So the best thing to do is come here and look for let's see, which link is it? Attendee, there you go, exhibitor list and floor plan, right? So if you come in and you start here with this, you can go through the list or you can go through the floor plan, but basically these are all the companies that are going to be at this show, right? So if you go through and check all their different websites, etc., a lot of them are giving away free passes. So you don't have to pay to get into the expo. To take the classes that are being offered during the event, you do have to register, and there is a fee for that, right? So all that information is there on the website. So as far as the Street Fashion Photo Walk and what is it involving, I like to be the guy that's a little bit different. There are a ton of photo walks at WPPI because it's Vegas and the weather's nice. It's going to be in the 50s, low 60s. So it's really nice time to be able to go out. The Mandalay Bay has a lot of really cool green area around it. Everybody goes out with their strobes and does, all the strobes and the modifiers outside. I go out with just a reflector. That's it. So my group, we basically go out and we learn how to find light. We learn how to find nice light. And just like I did in New York, this is going to be a similar photo walk in that the goal is going to be, the assignment for the attendees is going to be to essentially create a fashion story. Okay, and that fashion story is this, street fashion. So we've got an amazing model who is actually a Hollywood stunt woman. She is going to wear kind of a very cool athletic type outfit that's got a very kind of cool fashion vibe to it. It's all black and white. And we are basically going to look for good locations, look for good light to work with, and learn how to shoot basically guerrilla style without having to drag along a bunch of strobes, without having to set up all kind of modifiers, stuff that you can essentially do without an assistant, where you can go out one-on-one with a model or just with a person to do portraits and be able to shoot images like that. So it's really about being able to find good light and recognize it, as well as find good backgrounds and be able to walk into a situation cold and be able to find these spots where you can shoot and create nice shots. So Denko, I hope that I hope that tells you a little bit more. If you have another specific question, that by all means let me know. So, okay. Brad G's got a question here. Brad, the question is, do you ever have people send you some of their work to look at it? People send me work all the time, Brad. I can't look at it, unfortunately. I've got a lot of followers. If I looked at everybody's work or answer everybody's questions, I don't have time to create new content. But you have options. So let me go ahead and switch back to my website here. On that lectures and workshops tab, the same one that we looked at a little while ago, if you tap on that, there is a link here for video consultations, right? If you want me to do a portfolio review with you, if you want me to review your images, if you have questions, etc., you can schedule a 1-hour consultation with me. So it is 1 hour, one-on-one. I'm all yours. We can use that time to review images, talk business, talk techniques. The nice part about this kind of technology that we're using here is that I can actually do, real-time demos, show you how things work, just like you see stuff set up here. I frequently do that. If somebody's got like lighting questions, that type of stuff, when we kind of work through issues. So that would be the best way if you have images that you want me to look at. Your other option is, of course, to join my Facebook group. I'm going to put the link for the Facebook group here also in the chat window so that you have that. And I do from time to time go into the group and do Facebook Live kind of check-ins and do image reviews, that type of thing. So that would be another way to have me, take a look at your work and give you some feedback. Okay. All right. So let's see. Robert Clay's got a question here. Is it better to join a photography club or a meetup group? First of all, Robert, that's a great question. I very much am supportive of joining organizations like that are going to help you with your, your photography and those kind of skills. The real challenge is, in answer to your question, which is better, it depends. The reason why it depends is that it really varies by country, by location. There is definitely not a generic camera clubs are better or meetup groups are better. And anybody that tells you that is really overlooking the bigger picture. They're answering it based on their geographic location and where they're located. On my YouTube channel, if you hit that little magnifying glass again, type in the words camera club and hit search, the very first one that comes up is why should you join a camera club? Let me just grab the address here, or a photography meetup group. And it kind of talks to you a little bit about how you can appraise, once you find them, which ones are good, which ones are bad, to get a sense. So really what you're looking for is you're looking for one where, you can find like-minded people, meaning people that are going to, whoops, we don't want to play that video, sorry. You're looking for like-minded people who are going to be able to really help you in your pursuits of photography. And I don't necessarily mean they're going to teach you, but help you in the sense that they are into the same types of photography, same types of learning styles. If you want a club that is very competition oriented, that's probably going to be a camera club. If you want a club that's definitely more kind of shootout or workshop type oriented, that could be camera clubs. It could be meetup groups. So it's, the best thing to do is to attend. I will tell you this, most camera clubs and most meetup groups, not all in the meetup groups, but most will allow you to attend the first meeting at no cost. Like, you don't have to join. So it's kind of like a tryout, right? You get to meet them, you get to see how they work, and then you can kind of make a decision from there. But I very much encourage people the idea of getting involved with a club or a meetup group. The bottom line is having like-minded people that you can interact with and spend time with. I promise you, folks, you will learn so much more that way than you will watching videos on YouTube. You just will, right? You're watching videos on YouTube. Most of the YouTubers, all they're doing is talking about gear, and they're giving you a seriously bad case of gas. People like me, my tutorials are meant for problem solving. If there's something that you're trying to learn and you can't figure it out, then you come and you watch that video. The best way to learn photography is to take pictures. Some people are very social. They like to have friends or people that they can basically do it with, in which case that's where the camera clubs and the meetup groups really are beneficial and a great way to go. Okay, so let's see. James Tehan. A while back I mentioned that there are Olympus groups online. Is there anyone that stands out with you? Oh gosh, yeah. Now, this is one of those things, James. You're going to get me in trouble because, of course, I'm going to mention like one, and that leaves out like 15 others, right? So let me just reset this page here really quick and see if I can't. Whoops. Let's try this one more time. Okay. And there's what we need. All right, so let me switch the screen over here and I'll show you one, and I'll also give you guys the link for it. This is a group that I honestly feel is probably one of the best run Olympus groups that's out there. It's the Olympus OMD Education Group. Here's what's cool about this group to me. You cannot post photographs in this group, right? So this isn't one of those groups. I just put the link in the chat window for you guys. This isn't the kind of group where you go in and you post your pictures and everybody brags, yada, 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 okay? This is basically a group where you have questions, you go in and you ask questions. And so it's conversations that are designed to help people learn, okay? And the good part of it is it really is an educating group, meaning there are a lot of very, very helpful people in there that honestly really know this stuff. This was actually one of the very first Olympus groups that I joined back when I was considering switching over to Olympus, and I wanted to get a feel for what's the vibe like in the community and what kind of resources were available to me. So I highly recommend them. But I see Andrew James Oki here said basically join them all, and honestly, yeah, I mean, I'm in probably about 30 of them. Just like anything else, it's not like I spend tons and tons of time in each one, but they are great resources. So I would definitely encourage you, if you are a new or even an existing Olympus shooter, to consider joining those, because there's great information to be had there. Okay, all right. So Adam's smiling happy faces here because Adam is, of course, one of the admins of this group. But it's a great group. So. All right, I'm scrolling back. Let's see here. So Roderick, really? So for the Florida Camera Club Council, so he's saying here, you can't see Joe in Fort Myers if you're not a club member. So that particular event, I'm not surprised though, because that's actually like a full-blown photography event. It's not a camera club meeting, right? So I was referring to camera club meetings you can go to for free. Anytime they're running an event or they're paying to bring a speaker in, yeah, that's a little bit different. You guys have heard me talk a lot about NECCC, which is the New England Camera Club Council. So that's kind of the northern version of this one in Fort Myers. same deal. They do an event second weekend in every July in Amherst, Massachusetts. Awesome event, brings in top name speakers. You have to pay to go see that too. That's not a meeting, that's an event, right? So yeah, and in Fort Myers, I'll be doing a Friday workshop, and then I will also be doing some lectures on Saturday and one on Sunday morning. So yeah, that'll be a busy weekend. I'm looking forward to that. Should be a lot of fun. Okay. All right, scrolling back up here. We still got a good bit of time here, gang. So if you got questions, tonight's the night, okay? I know that I missed a couple back up in the beginning, so I'm scrolling up to see if I can find them. William Helpley here saying, join a local camera club. Some have monthly competitions, great feedback, and bragging rights, yeah. So, and as long as you don't get like, you know, a little too caught up in the whole competition thing, yeah, I'm all for it. It's a lot of fun, and it's very healthy, and it can be a great learning experience. But it really comes down to how good a job does your local club do of keeping it a learning experience as opposed to being a cutthroat competition. And those are the ones that I don't see value in. I simply don't, okay? John Cumber, are my editing skills self-taught, and how much time do you spend editing your work? My editing skills are self-taught. I'm a self-taught photographer, gang. I make no secret of that, right? Now, full disclosure, I sought out mentors early in my career, mentors who were very kind enough to share their time and also to provide me experiences, meaning to encourage me to go do things that were going to help move me along. But no, I have not gone to school for photography. The same with Photoshop. I have not gone to school for it. I am a very hands-on learner. Now, just so you know, some of the science behind learning and the way our brains work. As adults are very experiential learners. Science has proven that over and over and over again. You learn more from experience than you do from a book or a YouTube video. You just do. It's a fact of life. It's the way your brains work, right? So all my stuff is self-taught, yes. In terms of how much time do I spend editing my work, John, it really depends on the image. You know, if it's a composite image, it could be several hours. If it's a portrait that's, you know, basically not being composited, I'm not doing anything weird to it in post or anything like that, it's probably going to be 15 or 20 minutes is the amount of time that's going to it. If I'm doing photographs of my grandkids, and, you know, I still hold those to fairly high standards, but if it's pictures of my grandkids, it's probably going to be like 5 minutes an image, if that. All of those numbers are definitely high if I was a wedding photographer, right? But that's not what I do. So for my work, those would kind of be the average numbers that, you know, that I would be working on. Okay. Let's see here. A Japanese dream. Oh, you just got yourself some honey badgers. Good for you. Trust me, I would love to come to Tokyo. Of all the cities in the world that I haven't been to and would really love to get to, Tokyo is very, very high on my list. So fingers crossed, we'll hopefully make that happen. So, all right, let me slide down here. And Adam, now that you've put it, oh, here, sorry, let me get that up on the screen, guys. If I forget to put it on the screen, you tell me, right? Now that you put 1,000 irons in the fire, are you missing any of the photography things that you did have time for? Personal shooting, image feedback? What have you enjoyed the most? Wow, Adam. That's a loaded question, man. Yeah, you know, it's like, so am I missing things? Sure. What am I enjoying the most? What I enjoy the most, honestly, is actually doing this kind of thing, but face-to-face. So next week, WPPI, for me, that's like a kid in a candy shop. And it's not because of the trade show. True story. Like, I was at Imaging earlier this year. I was at Photo Plus in New York in October. In neither case did I get to see the entire trade show. And I don't care. I really don't, okay? I get to meet people. I get to talk to people. I get to talk to people that watch me on YouTube. I get to talk to people that have seen me present. I get to talk photography. I get to engage with, just like we were talking about with camera clubs, I get to engage with like-minded people. So in terms of, you know, what am I enjoying the most? It's the ability to get out and teach and share ideas. I've talked about this before. And a lot of people think that this is just like some kind of fancy little story. I swear to God, it's the truth. The cool part about teaching is what you learn. Now, it doesn't mean it's for everybody, right? But you have to understand that as long as I've been doing photography, and for all the time I've been doing photography, things like depth of field haven't changed. Depth of field is the same today as it was when I was 11 years old and got my first camera, right? In fact, true story, gang, when I was 12 years old, I won first place in a science fair for a science project about depth of field. Honest to gosh, okay? So, depth of field hasn't changed in all those years. The inverse square law hasn't changed in all those years. But what has changed is photographers. What has changed is the cameras and the technology. And so, when you go out and you're talking to people, when you teach, when you do the YouTube stuff, don't get me wrong, that's fun, but you're standing in front of a camera and you're not actually interacting with people. And you get two kinds of comments generally. The two kinds of comments are either people saying, hey, I really love what you do, thank you, or it's people that are trolls, right? And they're just being jerks. Every now and then you get a person that's got a real serious, legitimate learning question kind of filtered into that. When you're out talking to people face to face, number one, you get to see people respond. Like when I do my stage presentations next week in Las Vegas, I'm standing in front of a group of people. In New York, I had like a couple hundred people at two of the talks that I did. And so the cool part is you're seeing those faces. You are seeing if people understand. You're seeing if people don't understand. You're seeing if people are just kind of tuning you out because you're being boring, right? You see all that interaction. And then when it's over, people come and talk to you. And yes, some people are like, hey, I really enjoy what you do. Other people have questions. And what I find frequently is when I'm explaining things to people, things that I've known for 40 years, things that I've done for 40 years, I relearn them. And what I mean by relearning them is it makes me rethink my process, my workflow. Why do I do it a certain way? Maybe there is a better way to do it. Maybe there's an easier way to do it. I'm a really big believer in the idea that the day that I stop learning, I'm done. It's game over at that point. Even just for the sake of remaining creative, the day that we stop learning, that's it, okay? So, in terms of what do I miss on the photography side of it, I'm anxious. I haven't done as much shooting lately, so I'll own it, okay? I haven't done as much shooting in the last 2 months as I normally would and as I would like to. I'm not happy about that, but that was a set of conscious decisions that have been made. I mean, I know a lot of you think I've given up on doing tutorials and that kind of stuff. I haven't. I know that I've promised some video series. They're coming. Work has been done on them. Part of this adventure that I'm on is some things you just have to strike while the iron is hot. Opportunities come up and you have to take advantage of them or you miss out on them. Obviously even just becoming an Olympus visionary was a big change that opened a lot of doors, but also, changed kind of the requirements on my time, et cetera. So a lot of it has just been kind of sorting that stuff out. And I'm at a point now where I really do feel like the dust is starting to settle, which is good. I have what I feel is a really exciting direction for TogChat going forward. I am definitely seeing my schedule start to open up. In fact, when I come back from Florida, I've got a boatload of shoots already on the books and scheduled that I'm really excited about. I'm also going to be doing some more stuff with the young lady who is the clown that you guys have seen me post some images of. So, I think all of it, when you're running your own business, and especially as a solo entrepreneur, and this is the same, this isn't just a YouTube thing, guys. This is a photographer thing, right? And when you're running your own business, you have to go where the money is when the money's there. You just do, right? I mean, if you kind of put blinders on and you stay in your lane, and that doesn't mean you chase everything, but just when an opportunity is good and there is value to that opportunity and benefit, you take that opportunity and you do that. And it may take you off course a little bit. That's not a bad thing. That's a really good thing, I know that it's hard sometimes for kind of the YouTube mentality. But I love all of you, but the YouTube mentality sucks. It just does. All the drama between, the Northrups and the fuzzy hairs and just all of it. It's just ridiculous. I'm sorry, but it is. Especially when these are people that are intelligent. These are people that are actually capable of producing incredible photography. And instead, really what they're doing is they're just watering down the photography world, and they're not actually providing a service. They are making people neurotic. They are filling people with anxiety over whether or not they've got the right gear, and I refuse to do that. I'm not going to go down that path. So that was kind of a long loop around answer there, Adam, but I hope that helped out. So, but I'm the kind of guy, I'm like a no regrets guy. You know, even if a choice that I make doesn't work out, it was a choice that I made it for good reasons. I believed in it, and you know, as long as I can learn something from it and take something away from it, I'm not gonna regret it in that sense. So let's see here. Ken Preston, thinking about WPPI, what's the best Olympus camera for video work? Honestly, almost any, because I've used like quite a few of them, but I mean, for all my video work, I use the EM1 Mark II. I have had a chance to try out the EM1X right there for video. I have not used it for any of my YouTube stuff yet, but it performs great. Keep in mind, you know, it's the same sensor as the Mark II, but the stabilization is to die for. 7.5 stops of effective stabilization is what that camera is capable of, which is just crazy. So, and Ken, since I know you're a TV guy, with a little bit of effort, hand holding that camera, it's like using a gimbal. It's really, you know, quite impressive in that regard. But the EM1 Mark II is what I've been doing all my videos on. I've also used the Pen F for a lot of my B-roll and gotten, you know, great results with that. And even used the Tough TG5, the little red Tough camera, for some of my B-roll, and you know, it shoots 4K video. Gotten some great stuff out of that. So, you know, obviously, if you compare like an Olympus, you know, video scenario to a Panasonic video scenario, you've got a lot more third-party equipment that's available for the Panasonics, et cetera. But you know, I'm sorry, I don't feel that the Panasonics are any better. I was using Panasonics for video. It's the Panasonic cameras that led me to Olympus for all of my work. And I don't miss the Panasonics for video at all. I don't see a quality difference. In fact, I really, really love the color processing in the Olympus video. So you know, I've been thrilled with it. So, okay. Let's see here. Perlugi, do you want to briefly explain the set that you made behind you? So, sure, I'll briefly explain it. So basically, so this is stuff, you know, literally what happens the week before, and I talked about this, I think, before Photo Plus last year. So the week before a trade show, basically I will set aside like 2, sometimes 3 days to essentially practice, literally like practice, because I'm going to get up on a stage and I'm going to do a presentation. So the presentation that I am doing, oh, Adam, thank you so much, man, for the super chat. I sincerely appreciate that. The presentation that I'm going to be doing for WPPI is big, bold, beautiful portraits with small lights. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using the brand new, so you guys have seen pictures of these, but you haven't seen them on the street yet because they're not available yet. This is the new FL700WR. It's the new speed light from Olympus. And no, so let's be completely clear, before you all start, I'm not giving up on Godox, right? I have a lot of money invested in the Godox system because it works similar to a speed light, but it's got studio strobe capabilities. This is very, very fast. Actually, it's incredibly fast in terms of the recycles, but it's not a studio strobe. It's not going to replace my Godox, so don't panic. Olympus asked me if I would be open to testing these out and giving them a run, and if I'd like them, using them on stage in Las Vegas. So far, I've actually been very, very impressed with them. What's cool about them is they're wireless, right? And if you have the older Olympus flash, the FL900R, you can add a new wireless receiver that's available. So here, I'll grab this off of here and show you the wireless receiver. So this is this one right here. Whoops, let me straighten that out. This is the FL900R speed light, which you can tell it's a little bit bigger, right, in size. But this base that's on it is the new wireless base. So it will allow you to use this flash wireless in coordination with the 700R, right? And there is an on-camera controller for these that you see sitting right there. So basically what I'm going to be doing is 1, 2, and 3 light portrait setups. working with a new modifier that's also not on the market yet. So this is from PhotoFlex. It's a rapid dome, a rapid dome beauty dish. It's a medium size. It's about 24 inches. That's about what you're looking at there. It's round. It has a removable dish inside, so you can use it as a beauty dish or use it as a softbox. I'm going to be using it as a softbox without the dish. And then I'll be adding 1 or 2 other speed lights depending on the shot. I am going to be working with a fan on stage and doing lots of crazy stuff, blowing around. If you've seen my presentation in New York, you know that I also pour water all over the camera during the presentation and then spray water all over the lens to create all kind of cool specular highlights. I will be doing a little bit of that. You may have seen some of my presentations before where I've done the live composite, where I create the backgrounds in real time. Well, I've got some new twists on the live composite. So I will be doing kind of 2 versions of live composite in this show that are very different than any ones that I've done in the past, where using that feature, we're actually creating the backgrounds in real time as we go. So that's basically what's going on there. And the reason why I have the gray background down is the stage for the Olympus booth is gray. And basically I shoot lengthwise across the stage. And so I've got a gray wall on the wing, which is angled, which is kind of tough. But, I use that as my background, and that way I can turn it into different colors, etc. So that's the setup. Andrew, what do we got here? 2 Pen F questions. Is Olympus discontinuing it, and why won't it tether? I thought it had the same OMD EM1 software. So everything that I've read online says that Olympus is discontinuing the Pen F. I have no direct information from Olympus that says that's happening, but it would appear, based on the information that's popped up in the last day or 2, that it's really happening. Is it going to be replaced? Seriously, I have no idea. Okay. Why won't it tether? Because it's not a pro camera. So, Andrew, this brings up a really good point. And please, Andrew, I'm not picking on you, but I'm going to use you as the surrogate for a lot of people. A couple weeks ago, I did the TogChat about, a new camera was announced and the internet had a meltdown, right? Well, here's something that I'm not going to lie, it's been very discouraging for me. I do take it personally, only in the sense that obviously, you guys know I put a lot of effort into trying to teach people to improve and help them get better. And the thing that boggles my mind, and on one hand, I get it. On the other hand, it's like, people wake up. Everybody wants pro cameras for $500. They want every camera to do everything. That makes no sense. And Andrew, I got to be honest with you. I have a Pen F. I love the Pen F. Okay. Now, for those of you that don't know what a Pen F is, here, I'm going to grab one really quick just so that I can show you guys, what a Pen F is. Okay. So a Pen F is a camera that, honestly, it's cool, right? It's tiny. It's like a little street camera. It's also got the coolest logo of any camera ever made. It just does, right? Look it up. But, tethering is a pro feature. You tether in a studio or you tether on location when you're shooting high-end commercial advertising work. This is not a pro camera. It doesn't have a viewfinder. Well, it does have a viewfinder, but little tiny viewfinder you're going to work through. It's like, this is not a camera that's designed to be doing that kind of work. This is a carry-around camera. This is meant for street shooting, like, quick, easy. It's got incredible features in it. In fact, it's probably got more features in it than it really needs to have for a camera of its type. But that's part of the Olympus MO. Most of the Olympus cameras have more features in them than are really needed. But people just aren't being realistic. Like even with this new camera that came out, the EM1X, it's an incredible camera, gang, but it's a pro camera. So, it's ironic that people are complaining, oh, it's $3,000. Well, look, I'm sorry to tell you the harsh reality. If you're a pro, if you are making money and you can't afford a $3,000 camera, then you suck at business. You just do, right? So, it's not a camera that's designed for everybody. It's just the same as the Pen F's not designed to do everything. Yeah, it would be cool if iPhones were able to tether, shoot at 80 frames per second, shoot at 100 megapixels, medium format sensors. Like, it would be cool if they did that. But come on, like, why, right? Why do we need that? And that's the irony of it. And I blame the people that you see on YouTube, just gear video after gear video after gear video. We're creating this mentality that if a camera doesn't have everything, it sucks. And if it has everything, but it costs more than $1,000, it sucks. Like, why is that? So Andrew, seriously, I'm sorry. I don't want you to think I'm picking on you. You are not to blame for the slow process, but I have to be really honest. Like the Pen F was definitely not designed for that kind of work. So the fact that it won't tether, I don't see that being a problem. And I'm sure Andrew's following up. There was a thread that was posted in one of the Olympus groups where somebody was looking for information on how to tether a Pen F, and I had responded for that. Art in the Dark, you think they want more bang for the buck? I completely agree with you. I mean, and trust me, I understand it. Like, hey, we all want we all want value for our money, okay? And so, and here's a great point though, like, Alan, if you just started a business, then you don't have $3,000 to $5,000 for cameras. Then get your butt in gear and work, Alan. Alan, like, I'm sorry, maybe it's just because I'm an old fart, but I started out, I cut grass so that I could buy used camera gear. And at age 16, I had a Nikon F system with a motor drive at age 16 and a whole series of lenses because I worked my butt off. That's how you get a $3,000 or a $5,000 camera. If you're not making money, you shouldn't be buying a $3,000 or $5,000 camera. And the fact of the matter is, you don't need a $3,000 or $5,000 camera to be able to make money. So, just being honest, gang, right? Like, it doesn't, I understand that, we all want value, right? Don't get me wrong. I want value. When I spend something, I want value for what I spend because I work hard for that money. But the idea that, they need to make cameras cheaper so people can afford them to turn pro, that's a bunch of crap. Like, it's simply a bunch of crap. I mean, I hate to tell you, there are people out there actually making really good money shooting with iPhones. Go figure, right? And that's because they're really good business people. It's got nothing to do with the gear, right? That's the thing. So, it's kind of one of those things where I understand the desire. Let's face it, we all want to bargain. And let's face it also, it's always nice to have the biggest and the best. I mean, look at what happened with Apple, guys. I don't know that we can blame this on Apple, but, let's face it, Apple, at least to my knowledge, Apple is the first company that managed to create this kind of hysteria around their products. So I don't think we can blame it on Apple, but, and I was one of those people, like, for the longest time, man, every time a new iPhone came out, like, I was there at 3 a.m. in the morning on the computer, like, ordering that thing because I wanted it on day one. And finally, it took a while. It's kind of like, why? What am I doing? It's like now it's funny. Like, I have an iPhone 10. I don't have the new ones. It's like the first time I've never rushed out to upgrade because I finally realized, like, how stupid is that? Like, why am I doing that, right? And it is really the same with cameras. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love this camera. If you've ever listened to me about the way I talk about gear, because I don't talk about gear a lot, if this camera had not been handed to me by Olympus, because I'm a visionary, I may have purchased this camera, but I would have waited for the camera to hit the street. I would have waited for real use reviews to come out. I would have waited for an opportunity to rent the camera and test it out and see if it will meet all of my needs, and better yet, if it is going to help me do certain things better, right? I've talked about that many, many times. None of that went out the door because I became an Olympus ambassador. I still feel the same way. Now, I am using this camera as my primary camera at this point, not because Olympus gave it to me, not because I'm an Olympus ambassador, because I love the features that they have built into this. And are they features that are improving my photography? No. Are they features that are making my work easier? Yes. So for me, a portrait photographer, remember, this camera was designed for wildlife and sports people. And for them, it's a game changer. It is absolutely a game changer. For a portrait guy, this camera, however, has some wonderful features that streamline and simplify my work. And for that, it is absolutely worth the additional money. And even just a standpoint of kind of relearning a camera system. So, okay. So, art in the dark. What am I using to hold up my lights? Well, if you don't mean the light stands, you're probably referring to me talking about these arms, okay? These are by Manfrotto, sorry. And they extend out pretty far. So, you know, this is a 13-foot wide room that I'm dealing with here. So I've got them mounted on both sides, and I can actually basically have them crisscross if needed. So I've got 2 in the back, 2 in the front up here, and that allows me to pretty much cover, you know, every inch of the room. Okay, so let's see here. I'm scrolling back up. Let's see. Just sliding on up here, guys. Sorry. A lot of guys talking about your gear. Alan Kostick, when you have to pay for your sick mother. Look, you know, it's hard, man. We all have things that we have to deal with. And I'm not trying to be insensitive if that's not a joke, okay? If you're very serious about that, then seriously, I'm sorry that you're dealing with that. But, you know, I see your post here, Alan, where you talk about having a Nikon D7200. You can take great pictures with a Nikon D7200, okay? You just can. So, you know, you guys, just because I'm an Olympus ambassador, you guys have not heard me say that any other camera brand is crap. You know, I may joke about Sony being a 4-letter word or Fuji being a 4-letter word, but come on, right? It's all in fun, and that's it, right? It is very, very hard, almost impossible, I would argue, to purchase a bad camera. And when I say bad, I mean designed poorly camera on the market today. They're all great cameras. There's just a lot of bad photographers, but there's really not any bad cameras, okay? Now, are there cameras that are not going to be able to meet your needs? And the key word there is needs, and I mean real needs, not I want to be able to take pictures in the dark lit by a candle that is 300 yards away. Well, you know what? If that's what you need, go pick up a brush and learn how to paint, because photo means light. Like, come on, right? Let's be realistic. So you can't buy a bad camera. It's really a matter of learning photography. It just simply is. So anyway, there, you guys got your rant for the night. But come on, guys, let's focus on what's really, really important. I don't think any of you bought your first camera so that you could debate about gear, so that you could be neurotic about gear, so that you could worry if you had the best or the biggest. I don't think any of you started photography for that reason. Most people start photography because they are interested in the process, because they find it fascinating, because they find it invigorating, and they develop a passion for that. And then a lot of them find certain YouTube channels and they go completely off the rails, because that's not what photography is about. It's just not, okay? Denko Imaging's got another question here. Let's talk about shoot, edit, burn versus shoot, edit, print. Your thoughts? Would you agree that TOGs are missing a lot by not printing their images on a regular basis? Yes. In fact, Denko, I talked about this recently, and I'm actually taking steps to change that for me. I stopped printing about 5 years ago. So actually, you know what? Pause. Forget me for a minute. Let's talk about the first part of your question. Shoot, edit, burn versus shoot, edit, print. If you want to make money as a portrait or wedding photographer, we'll take those two. And there's some other categories we could throw in, but we'll take those two, right? If you are serious about earning money as a portrait or wedding photographer, you're not going to do it if you don't print. Now, I'm not saying you necessarily have to purchase printers and print yourself, but you have to sell prints. Do your research, folks. The highest earning wedding and portrait photographers are not doing shoot, edit, burn. And shoot, edit, burn, just so you know, guys, in case you're missing the term, it relates back to burning DVDs. Basically, it means you're handing over digital files and walking away. It's called work for hire, right? You're just not going to make a lot of money that way. The money is in the prints. It's intangibles. Just like anything else in life, right? It's about tangibles. We always pay more for tangibles We simply do. So it's all about the printing. Now, for me, I stopped printing, actually it's going on 6 years now. I said 5, it's closer to 6 years. Mainly because what was happening was I was wasting ink. I had an Epson printer that did up to 13 inches at the time, and I just wasn't printing enough. And then I would go to print, and my ink cartridges just dried up. And if you've ever done your own printing, you know it was crazy expensive. So finally, I said, that's it. I'm not doing enough prints and selling enough prints at this point. It's not worth my while. So I stopped. Not to mention that at the time, 6 years or so ago, the software process for printers, it was a pain in the butt, right? I mean, especially from a color management standpoint, you had to, work between your system color management, Photoshop color management, printer color management. There's just a lot of stuff going on. It was a pain. So now that I have 2 grandkids, one who is just over 4, the other one who's coming up on a year old, I realized it would be nice to start getting into some prints. I started doing some more research. Also found out that Epson in particular, it's a company that I used to use their printers before, and I'm using their printers now. They have really made some dramatic changes in the printing software. So now instead of having to work between your printer and your operating system in Photoshop, and for color management, now you can do it all in one top-down piece of software from Epson, which is awesome. Simplifies the process so much. So yes, I am starting to definitely get much more into printing. We'll have a video coming out about that and explaining why. I think as a photographer, and believe me, so for the last 5 or 6 years, I was the guy that said, hey, look, all my work is being seen on computers. I'm very happy seeing it on a phone or a computer screen. And now in the last 6 months, I've had a picture on a billboard at 48 feet wide. I started printing some of my own stuff. Olympus has printed images of mine 8 feet wide by 6 feet tall. If you're coming to WPPI, you should be able to see one there. So, seeing this, I started realizing how much I was missing out. There's just something about seeing a nice big print. If you follow me on social media, you saw the big photo album that I did for Olympus, which actually will also be at WPPI with a lot of my images. It's printed by Miller's. It's a gorgeous album. So, it's one of those things. I think you should be printing for yourselves first, but then think, oh yes, if you're going to make money, you're going to print. Okay, whether you do it for yourself or whether you hire, whether you send out to a lab and do it, you're going to sell prints. So, all right, let's see here. Nick, bought a roll of Gray Seamless. And Nick, I saw your question earlier. I was going to get to it, but thank you for posting it here because it's easier now. I can show it to people, right? So you bought a roll of Gray Seamless as the one to have if you only have one, just like that video that I did. But he didn't think it through. For full body shots, how do you change the color of the floor? You can change the background color, but not the floor. Yeah, it's a lot harder. It just is. If you want to do full-length shots, Nick, it's hard to work with just one background and gel it. It just is. The video that I did where I talk about the one background color, obviously, if you go watch that video, all the shots are portraits. They're not full-length pictures, okay? You could play around a little bit in Photoshop with some masking, using hues and saturations. The great part about gray has a lot of blue in it. So if you go into the hue, saturation, and luminance panel and you start playing with the blue hue slider, you can actually change a gray background considerably with the slider. So what I would encourage you to do, Nick, before you kind of get frustrated and go off and start buying other colors, do a full-length shot or even just photograph just that gray background. Take that image, raw file, into Photoshop, do it in Photoshop, use the hue, saturation, and luminance. So you're going to be in the camera raw panel, right? Go to the luminance, go to the hue slider for blue and start adjusting that. And watch what happens to the gray background. Now, you may not be able to get the colors as bright and intense as you want, so that's the variable here. But you'll find you'll be able to do some shifting of the colors just by using the blue slider in hues when you photograph that gray background. But otherwise, yes, it's a little tough to be able to change it on a full-length shot because you're going to wind up throwing light on your subject at the same time. Okay? All right, so let's see here. Scrolling down here, guys, sorry. So Photo Sven, what's the difference in performance between a deep power box and a shallow power box? In all practical intents and purposes, there's not a lot. There's really not. The deeper it is, the more the light's going to be a little bit more focused. Okay. The shallower it is, you're still going to tend to get a little bit more of a spread. Especially working in small spaces, I tend to not use the deep power boxes at all, just because they're ridiculously big and heavy. I tend to go, shorter. So. DMAC, which day am I arriving at WPPI? I will actually be arriving in Vegas late Monday night. So I'm flying in like really late. So I get in like, well, it's 9 o'clock like their time, but it's late for me here. And then we have rehearsals on Tuesday. And I also have to do my final location scouting on Tuesday for my photo walk. And then the show opens Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then I have a red eye back home Friday night. So yeah, I don't get a lot of free time in Vegas, but yeah, I get back for like 2 days and then I'm heading back out for Florida. So, but yeah, I'll basically be in town, late Monday night, and then Tuesday's kind of the setup day, and then we go from there. So, Eric, Miller's is great for prints. Yeah, Miller's is very good for printing. They did the printing for that book that I did for Olympus, which a lot of you saw on social media. If you're coming to WPPI, I'm pretty sure Olympus is taking the book to WPPI, so you'll be able to see it there. Okay, Roderick, I use both roll paper and sheets. It depends on what I'm printing, so I got a little bit of both. So let's see, Zhang, Joe, do you have any places where you recommend to print your pictures in 8x10 and up? I've tried big box pharmacy stores and their quality doesn't look good. Thought it was my camera, but it wasn't. So here's the thing you have to understand about like the big box stores and the pharmacy stores and that kind of stuff, right? The people that are running the machines that most of them have, so I want to be clear and I want to be fair. The machines that most of them have, like when you walk into a Walgreens, right? Or when you walk into like a Walmart, okay? The machines that they have, if you've got one that's actually doing the chemical machines, the chemical processing machines, right? They're perfectly good machines that are capable of putting out really, really good quality prints. However, the prints are only going to be as good as the staff that is managing the machine, maintaining the machines, etc. Given that these are not photography stores, given that that is not the primary focus of the business of a Walgreens or a Walmart, you're generally not going to get consistently good work. The Walmart that is very close to me, I used to be able to go and get 8x10s made there, and this was probably 2 years ago for the very, very rare occasion when I needed prints, and they were amazing because the kid that was managing their lab was a college kid going to school for photography. I had established a relationship with him. The kid really knew his stuff and he was a very hard worker, so he really took care of the lab. Now, if I were to take a print there, God knows what color it would come back, period. So, you saw in here designing, some people mentioned places like Miller's. MPEX is the consumer side of Miller's. Bay Photo in San Francisco is another great lab. Depending on where you're at in the world, for me, actually a lab so I use Miller's for most of what I send out now. A lab that I used for many years when I needed stuff done was here on the East Coast in Maryland, right outside of DC. It's called Nations Photo Lab. I had great experiences with them, both from a price standpoint, customer service standpoint. They were really great. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of options that you have there as far as that goes. Okay. DMAC could be there early Tuesday morning. Cool. So we'll probably run into each other, if not on Tuesday, definitely on Wednesday for sure. Jerry Andrews, Roberts does amazing prints. Is that Roberts camera store that you're talking about? That wouldn't surprise me. So, Andrew, hoping to get back into portraiture soon. Andrew, I didn't know you got out of portraiture, man. I will be glad to see you get back into portraiture. So, let's see here. Denko, UPS stores have a Canon Pro 2000. Yeah, and again, it's kind of like a camera, right? With printers, it all depends on the person running it and taking care of it. Chaz Maj, gray backdrop, plain or textured or tie-dyed. Depends on what you want, man. Yeah, there's no set thing. Okay. The thing with backdrops, gang, is backdrops aren't cheap, right? Period. I mean, in relationship, some to others are cheaper, but backdrops aren't cheap. So the challenge is when you buy a backdrop, you want to try and get as much use of it out of it as possible, right? So for instance, in Las Vegas, one of the things I'll be doing, so I mentioned to you, it'll be a gray background that I have to shoot with, right? But then what I'll also be doing is I'll be putting some color gels on it. I'll be turning that gray background purple. Then I'll be putting some material between my subject and that gray background with the purple gels and actually bringing in some reds and some blues, right? All same background, but just trying to change it. So for me, my philosophy is whatever you like is fine, but from the standpoint of your pocketbook, you want to try and find as many different ways to get as much out of it in terms of making it look different, making it appear different, etc. Okay. Elliot, 3 yards of black velvet upholstery cloth. Yeah, that stuff works really well. I've talked about that in my videos. I have the video about the crushed velour that I use, which is great. So Jerry Andrews, Robert's Camera. Yes, I've been in Robert's Camera in Indianapolis years ago. I actually bought a Nikon lens from them back in the day. And they were great, really nice store. And I know at this point they do a lot of photo education in that. So fingers crossed, maybe I'll get to make a visit there and do a workshop or do a demo. So Alan, am I ever going to be in the Netherlands? I would love to be. It's actually very hard to do the workshops overseas and that kind of stuff because unfortunately there's a lot of legalities with taxes and permits and everything. So realistically, I would probably be there. I would probably be there just for the sake of having some fun before I will be there to actually work professionally. A lot of the guys that do that stuff, they basically just kind of take their chances with it, and I'm just not a big fan of that. So, Wet Dog Dry Fly Photography. Awesome name. Your issue with giving digitals is that so few people have calibrated monitors, so the work does not always show correctly. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a reality of putting a picture on the internet, period. I mean, that's, just part of the process. So, all right, so I'm scrolling back up here. Let's see what else I missed. I got the picture about printing. A lot of people talking about what cameras they started with. Cool. All right, so I think I'm caught up with all the back questions here, right? And yes, I think I am. So scrolling down here, for seamless, does it matter if you're mounting it over or under thing? You have the great roll toilet paper debate. That's a good question. So I do mine under. Okay. I think you could probably do it either way. Actually, no. You know what? It does matter. Sorry. Under, because of the curl when you lay it out, it's going to be less likely to buckle. If you do it over when you try to lay it out, you're fighting against the curl, and it's going to want to curl under. So for seamless, yes, we're going to go under. That's the proper answer. Okay. Ken Preston, it is eCamm Live. So eCamm Live here. I'm typing it in there. eCamm Live. It is a Mac-only software. It's actually really nice, ridiculously inexpensive. So compared to Wirecast, which Wirecast is great software in terms of what it's capable of, it's much more than a lot of us need, much more than I need. So yeah, this eCamm Live stuff so far is like awesome. So Eric, an HLD9 battery grip question. Does it hold 2 batteries or just one? I'm not seeing it. Sorry, I should put this up on the screen here. So this is an Olympus camera question. It holds 1. And so the HLD9 battery grip, that's the battery grip for the OMD EM1 Mark II, the Olympus. It holds 1 battery in the grip, 1 battery in the camera, just like Nikon, Canon, Sony, all the rest of them. That's one of the big upgrades with the EM1X. The EM1X actually holds both batteries in the base, okay? So you don't have a battery that's up in the camera at all. They both go in the base. But yeah, having 1 in the grip and 1 up top, I mean, not the end of the world. That's pretty much, it's pretty much how every other brand works. So, okay. All right. Let's take that one out. Steve Kunder, any chance of a live composite demo or video? Been there, done that, man. Really? Like, yeah. So here, let's let me get my YouTube channel up on the screen here. and I'll show you the video. So I do have a video on YouTube that's all about the live composite. And here, let's switch the screen over or not. There we go. So we'll switch that over. I'm going to take your question off here, Steve. If you hit the little magnifying glass, the one that's on my profile, not the one up at the search bar at the top, and type in live composite, you will get a video that I did a couple months back, DIY backgrounds with Olympus live composite. In fact, here, I'll put the link in the chat window for you. The other answer that I have for you, Steve, is that fortunately, I am going to be able to have my presentation in Las Vegas recorded. In fact, Ken Preston, who is here with us tonight, is going to be kind enough to come out and do it for me. And that way, you will be able to see it in a few weeks. I'll have it edited down and I will show it. So you'll be able to see the live composite that I'm going to do on stage. Because as I mentioned, there's kind of a twist that I'm going to add to the whole thing that I haven't done in the past. So, but there is one there if if you want to check that out. So, okay. Michael, when you're visiting Poland, I would love to visit Poland, man. I really, really would. So hopefully. Andrew, the eCamm audio is way better also. Yes, thank you. So DMAC, have I ever thought about doing a live shootout at my home studio? You mean like doing a workshop? I have done workshops here. I do them from time to time. At this stage of the game, it would actually be a bit of a challenge for me to do them here. They were small group workshops, 5 attendees, that was it. The challenge with it now is I've honestly got way too much stuff in here to make it practical. But there's some other things in the works. So yeah, you'll have a lot more opportunities to be able to do workshops and learn from me this year. So okay, let's see here. Coast to coast imagery. So here's a question. You mentioned a Facebook post about possibly being a photography educator versus just being a photographer. Your primary job is an air traffic instructor and you totally enjoy teaching. So my answer is probably going to be a little bit controversial, but I'm going to give it to you straight and give it to you from the heart. I don't feel that it is the right step to say, I want to be a teacher before you've got years and years and years and years of experience in. And it all depends on what kind of teacher you want to be. So, and no disrespect to teachers, like real teachers, professional teachers in colleges and art schools, that kind of stuff. Frequently, these are teachers that have MFAs, Master of Fine Arts, and so much of what their knowledge is that they're teaching is out of a book. It's what they learned in classes. I don't find a lot of value in that in photography because those same classes and the same teachers teach the rules. They are very focused on the rules. In fact, they teach you, learn the rules so you know how to break the rules. Bull crap. Once you've learned the rules, you're already in the box. Your creativity is crushed. So it's not about learning the rules to break the rules. That's like ridiculous. Do we learn the law so we can break the law? Not really, okay? Our parents teach us how to be good people and how to do the right things. And along the way, we find out what's illegal, what's not. But we don't go out and take a class. Here's the law. Now go break it, right? We don't do that, right? So why would we do that with photography and creativity? We simply wouldn't. So the thing is, coast to coast, number one, it depends on how good a teacher are you. Number two, it depends on actually how good a photographer are you. And it's not about being the best photographer. I'm not the best photographer, gang. Not even close. But I'm a guy that's been in this business for more than 40 years, paying my bills, putting in the hard work. And so I've got a lot to share. I can help people solve problems. So, if you're asking like, how do you do it? Just do it. Start teaching. Like, how to do something, how to, or worse yet, the words, I don't know. In today's world, like, those are questions to not be asked because there's this thing called the internet, right? And you don't have to Google, like, how can I become a photography teacher? Because it's going to tell you go take an MFA, etc. You want to teach? Teach. Start making YouTube videos. Go talk to your local camera clubs and say, hey, I want to come in and do a presentation. And they're going to say, why? Who are you? Why should we care? And that's the thing about teaching, right? Certainly people have a lot of options for learning. And that's good. I mean, that's very good because not everybody learns the same way and different people want to learn different things. So you've got to kind of find your audience. Even as a teacher, you have to find an audience. So when I say audience, that doesn't mean you're going to entertain, but all good teachers are slightly entertaining. So, definitely something you can do, but it's just a matter of, making sure that you have something that you can bring value, to the table if you really want to be able to make money at it and be good at it, okay? As an air traffic instructor, obviously there's a lot of rules there. While there's some creativity in that job, I'm sure, because there's a lot of problem solving involved, there's also a lot of rules. So it's kind of a different kind of thing to teach, in that regard. There's a phrase that I heard for many years growing up, and it's a very derogatory phrase towards teachers. That phrase was, teachers are those that can't do. And I was an obnoxious punk that believed that when I was a kid. In fact, I was in my teens when I first heard that. And life's beautiful. Thank you so much. I'll get your question in just a second here, okay? I heard that and I bought into that, right? So, and it's actually incredibly obnoxious. It's also rude, and it's not even remotely correct. That still rings in the back of my head, though. Every time I talk to somebody about teaching, every time I put on my teacher's cap and go to teach, that rings in the back of my head. I'm married to an educator who is passionate, knows her stuff like nobody's business, and actually really, really cares about her students. She's probably the biggest influence on my teaching in terms of why it matters so much to me that people connect with what I do. So, and I've learned I'm probably better at teaching actually than I am as a photographer. But that's cool. But that's also cool because I've got the background and the experience in photography that I can teach in a way that people are going to connect with it and learn from it. So that's, that's the best piece of advice I can give you, is just, you got to start. If it's something you really want to do, you got to start, but you got to have something that's worth teaching. You can't teach from a textbook and expect to be successful. You just can't. Okay. Robert Julian, Lindsay Adler is at WPPI, opportunity to invite her. Actually, Robert, I know Lindsay, and I promise you that will happen. I will get Lindsay on TogChat. I've done several events over the years with Lindsay. Actually, also done demos with her at the Carolina Photo Expo. We did a demo together. Know her very well. So yeah. Okay. So life's beautiful. Your super chat. If someone is, let me get it up on the screen here. Okay. If someone is in the market for a new DSLR lens, should they not buy it and go mirrorless instead, or will DSLRs be around for years into the future? God, I hate questions like this. So you have to be careful with the answer that anybody's going to give you to that question, right? How about if we flip that all around? So clearly life's beautiful. You are a DSLR owner. Cool. All right. So really my question for you in return is, you need to decide, why do you need the new lens? Why do you need a mirrorless camera? If you don't want to go mirrorless, don't go mirrorless. Are DSLRs going to go away? Eventually, yes. Now, is that eventually in a year, 2 years, 3 years? I don't think so. 5 years? Probably not. Maybe. Some. 10 years? Possibly. But who knows, right? I mean, literally, who knows, okay? But I think that the simple logic is, we don't need DSLRs down the road. Everything is moving mirrorless. It makes more sense to move mirrorless, okay? Now, so does that mean that if right now you have need, and I don't know what kind of lens you're talking about here, Life is Beautiful. If you're talking about kind of like a situation where, like, hey, you need a new portrait lens, is that a reason to have to go mirrorless? No. So it's a really tough question. I'm a big believer you buy the gear because you have a legitimate need or because it's going to help you improve in something that you do. So I'm hearing you ask about mirrorless in the sense of like, do I have to go ahead and switch mirrorless to mirrorless? And that's not the reason to switch. I mean, yeah, that's not the reason to switch to mirrorless. Okay, the reason to switch to mirrorless is because you appreciate what it has to offer, want those features, and because it's going to ultimately help you with your photography. That's the reason to switch to mirrorless. So I know that's not a direct answer, but that's kind of how I would approach it. Okay. If you want to give me some more specifics, Life is Beautiful, I'll gladly try and help you out with a little bit more detail there. So let's see, Andrew. Have I run into any limitations shooting with Micro Four Thirds, lens selection, software compatibility? No, not at all, man. I mean, little stuff like, for instance, Capture One, which I don't use that much anymore, by the way. But and it's not because of the fact that it doesn't tether with Olympus, because you can still, Capture One supports Olympus files. It just doesn't support camera tethering. So what you do is you tether with Olympus Capture, which I'll come back to that in a second, and then you just set a hot folder in Capture One, and it's actually faster. Yes, seriously, because Capture One is wicked fast on the file transfers, like crazy fast, okay? So it's actually, honestly an improvement in that regard. But no, I've run into no limitations, Andrew. I mean, there's no way I would have switched systems if it was going to set me back. Not even an option for me. So I'm a big believer in moving forward, always moving forward. And that's exactly what I'm doing with Olympus. And that's why you see so many people switching to Olympus, because when you realize that it's time to embrace photography and stop with the stupid gear phobias. The phobia of not having the coolest, newest, most expensive gear that's approved by Tony Northrup. When you stop doing that, you realize that brands like Olympus make a ton of sense. They just do, okay? So let's see here. Hawaii en Espanol. Do I think that the flippy screen and charging the camera by USB cable is a must in today's world? I don't understand why most companies are going backwards. I'm not sure why you think that's going backwards. This camera, I can charge it by USB-C, which is awesome. Like I literally can charge it off a battery pack, which is cool. So like I can charge this camera off of, let's see, where's my battery pack here? Let me grab it really quick. This is a little Jackery pack. So this little battery pack right here, I can charge that camera with, which is like amazing. So I don't see that as a step backwards. As far as the flippy screen and that, I actually like the flippy screens. The flippy screens provide me with a lot of versatility. Keep in mind, you don't have to use a flippy screen, right? Now, there are cameras that have really good flippy screens, and then there's cameras that have really stupid flippy screens. Like flippy screens that only go up and down, they're a little bit limiting. It's fine if it's more of an amateur camera, but for a pro-level camera, I want that screen to become all the way out so I can, do everything with it. That way I can put the camera up, I can put the camera down, I can, pretty much anything I need to. So Andrew James, thank you for the beer and pizza. Greatly appreciated, sir. So yeah, I mean, I don't know that I see it as going backwards, Hawaii, but at the end of the day, don't sweat those features, right? If you're looking at making a camera change, you sweat the fact that you have to answer a simple question. Does this camera have the features that I needed to have? Done. And that's when you make the change. So I don't get all that caught up in, it's got this feature or that feature. I just don't. So, all right, let's see here. Smokey, feature set is the reason to switch to mirrorless? Well, for you it is, Smokey. It depends on the photographer. But yeah, for me, I mean, that was a big part of it. So Mike Kosinski, even the new Capture 112, it does not support Olympus cameras. It supports Olympus files, okay? Hopefully that'll change at some point. That's obviously not really up to Olympus. That's up to Capture One. But, they're lost. Part of the reason is, though, Mike, I'm not kidding. So, and I'm sorry, I should put this on the screen. Mike, since they asked about the tethering, and even if the Capture 112 does it, it would be really, really hard for them to be able to compete with the speed of Olympus Capture. Olympus Capture software rocks. I'm not saying that because I'm a visionary. I'm saying it because it rocks. I've said it. Go back in my archives. I said it long before I became a visionary. Super fast, super easy. I love it. If you see me in Vegas next week, those of you coming to Vegas, you'll see me use it. In fact, I'm the only presenter that will actually use Olympus Capture live in real time. Everybody else has their stuff go through Capture One so that fancy images pop up. Come on, you guys know me. I'm going to break it down and we're going to build the shots together, and you're going to see all of it right through Olympus Capture. So I love it. It's just super fast, super easy. So, all right. Robert Julian, you almost made it through the day without learning anything new. Then you logged into TogChat. Great. I'm glad that I made that happen. So, Al B, you use umbrellas a lot when you're in the road. Do I find that a sock for umbrellas is worth it to extend the functionality, or is the result too similar to notice? You could have a whole bunch of different modifiers out and make them all look exactly the same. It's no different than I did that video where I took an umbrella and made it look like a beauty dish. So do I find that to be a big deal? No. I have a couple of the umbrellas that, you know, are kind of the reversed umbrella with the diffuser on the front, and they're nice. But no, it's, believe me, with lighting modifiers, folks, it's not one of those things where you've got to have like one for every situation. With lighting modifiers, the most important thing to do is understand the inverse square law. If you understand the inverse square law, you can take one modifier and you can do a lot of stuff with it, okay? So, all right, let's see here. Last question for the night, okay? DMAC, would I consider using the Honey Badger wireless flash? Consider it? No, because I'm happy with the Godox, right? Is there anything wrong with it? No, there's nothing wrong with it. Everything I've read about them sounds pretty good. Interfit's going to be at WPPI, DMAX, so you'll be able to get to check those out there. But yeah, I mean, for me, no, I wouldn't use them only because I'm really, really happy with what I'm doing with Godox, and no, I'm not sponsored by Godox. But in terms of, like, if I was going to go purchase Interfit today, Honey Badgers, would I go with the regular Honey Badger or would I go with the regular Honey Badger Unleashed? I would definitely go with the Unleashed for the lithium battery, totally. But that's just not, you know, what I'm using from a lighting standpoint. I mean, even me going to Vegas without my Godox strobes is going to be a little weird, right? Because, you know, I'm so used to using the Godox. You guys know that I switched to that. So I'm doing, Eric, thank you so much for the super chat, man. I really, really appreciate it. You know, I'm kind of doing Olympus a favor, trying out these strobes. And I got to say, you know, as speedlights go, they're great. But yeah, I'm not going to be leaving my Godox, you know, in that sense. So, all right, gang. So a couple quick pieces of business. We are like over 90 minutes, okay? Remember, 2 weeks. So that means like you got to do like 360 minutes worth of shooting, like a lot, okay? I'll be back in 3 weeks with Will Cadena, who is a Westcott ambassador. He's a guy that shoots Canon. He's a portrait wedding photographer. He does fashion. Does a lot of really, really awesome stuff. He's a great guy. You guys will love him. He's like super personality. He's like rock star. But I'll tell you what, he backs it up with rock star photography. Really, really awesome stuff. So make sure you follow me on Instagram, Facebook. I will be posting a lot of Instagram stories next week in Vegas with all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, shots of me on stage, all that kind of stuff. Also follow, especially for those of you that are Olympus users, follow Get Olympus because they'll be posting a lot of stuff on Instagram stories so that you can see what's happening in Vegas if you can't be there. As I mentioned, I will have the ability to post it. And understand, gang, when we get paid to go present, anybody gets paid, not just a visionary, anybody. We can't just say, hey, we're going to go in and we're going to shoot, you know, a video. So I want to point this out to you. There are certain YouTubers that go out and teach workshops, and they charge people a lot of money to come to the workshop. And then while they're at the workshop, they spend a lot of time filming a YouTube video, which is not fair to the people that are paying for the workshop. Well, Olympus is paying me to go to Las Vegas and present for them. But Olympus is gracious enough to allow me to have my talks recorded so that I can show them out. John, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. So they're gracious enough to allow me to have them recorded so that I can show them to you guys. So you guys will get to see my presentation and all the cool stuff that we're going to do. And it's really the whole idea behind it. It's 40 minutes, right? So there's only so much photography you can teach in 40 minutes. So I take the approach of, hey, I want to give people a whole bunch of ideas that they can go home and play with and experiment with. So it's really kind of meant to get your creative juices going, to give you some ideas, to give you some things to try, some things that are fun, a little bit different, kind of outside the box. It involves fans, it involves water, it involves sunglasses, it involves feathers and confetti. So we're going to do a lot of that kind of calm in the middle of chaos stuff that I am known for. All right. So gang, as always, thank you so much for spending the evening with me tonight. I am looking forward to this new venture with TogChat and doing lots and lots of interviews. By the time I get back on here with Will, I'm going to start posting a little bit of a schedule so you guys can see who's coming up. But seriously, please, I appreciate your watching, but go take pictures, right? None of this counts. None of this is helpful. None of this has any value unless you go pick up the camera and shoot. And William, thank you also for your super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Whatever you do, guys, remember these words.
Thanks for watching another live episode of TogChat. Now, pick up that camera and shoot something, because your best shot is your next shot. So keep learning, keep thinking, and keep shooting. Adios.